me immense pleasure to welcome you, including the ones online, to the 4th Energy Finance Conference India, jointly organized by Center for Financial Accountability, Indo-German Centre for Sustainability at IIT-Madras and Climate Trends. As Manya mentioned, this is a rare confluence of experts, academics, industry and activists coming together to discuss the issues related to the energy sector. It was in 2018, after we working for a few years on investment related to the energy sector, particularly in thermal projects, that we started discussing about how to kind of break our silos and discuss the issues, bringing people from different sides of the debate. While CFI might have played a certain role in putting this conference together, there are many people behind this idea. We finally met Dr. Chalarajan at IIT-Madras, who welcomed the idea, and thus was born the annual Energy Finance Conference in 2019. Often we did not agree with each other in these conferences, but we certainly heard each other and we understood the other perspectives better. We hope that spirit will continue this year as well. There are a lot happening in the sector. We just completed another conference of parties, COPE, making another set of commitments. After witnessing a severe coal shortage and after states were compelled to kind of import coal to meet the shortage, states are warned of another impending crisis. While we have expanded the RE considerably, and that is a very positive thing, the way it is rolled out has often met with issues with local communities and the environments. The discoms are in serious debt. We have an electricity amendment bill which proposes some significant changes in the area of power distribution in India. There are many more kind of issues in the sector which we will be kind of discussing here. We are here to kind of discuss this issue since changes in this sector affect each one of us personally. Decisions taken in this sector will have serious impact on the climate crisis. From shifting weather patterns that threaten fruit production to rising sea levels that increase the risk of catastrophic flooding, the impacts of climate change are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. Unfettered investments in the sector has contributed hugely to the mounting non-performing assets in the commercial banks. The IBC process turned out to be one forcing banks to kind of take haircuts again and again. It's in this larger context that we are kind of meeting here. And pandemic has changed the way we met and discussed in the past 2 to 3 years. Most of us have developed a Zoom fatigue even. We also realized how much we valued meeting people in person and exchanging notes. We are happy that after 2 years we are meeting in person. We are sure that we will take advantage of connecting with people from across the table. I, on behalf of the organizers, welcome each one of you to the 4th Energy Finance Conference India. Thank you.
Now, I request Ms. Shivani Shah from Climate Trends to brief us about the report titled RE versus Coal, Coal versus Renewables Investment Report from the year 2022.
This is a report that has been put together essentially on project finance, and it looks at data from 2020 to 2021. In terms of the essential findings, I'll just briefly sort of cover that we've looked at 44 projects, and for the first time in the 5 years of looking at project finance, 100% of sort of resources have gone to RE. This has not been seen before. Of course, the total amount of money that has gone in terms of investment for energy projects has gone down considerably considering COVID, and this is the time frame of 2020 to 2021 that we're looking at. But all of it went to RE, so that's significant. And I'd like to say that also for the first time we have sort of seen a private bank looking at taking over SBI. So L&T has taken over SBI in terms of the finance, and that's another sort of key highlight from this report. We've also seen over the years that the amount of money going to RE has gone up by 39 times. So these are real indicators in terms of where the money is going, where the financiers are also feeling confident about sort of putting money behind RE, and I think that's telling in terms of trajectory. Of course, the last 1 year itself has been quite chaotic, and we'll know only once we reflect on that a little bit later next year. But for the year 20 to 21, I think it's been quite promising. I would say that in terms of the kind of policy changes that have happened in the last 12 months alone, and they've overlapped with what the geopolitical scenario that we've seen. So we've seen the Ukraine war following just the pandemic, and after that we had implications on energy all over the world. But despite that, I think there were some interesting things that India did in terms of looking at policy shifts. So we looked at, for example, the Electricity Act, which was quite promising, the Green Energy Open Access, which was quite interesting. We had the Sovereign Bond Framework that was released just earlier in November. So all of these will have interesting implications that we can then look at next year. So with that, I'll sort of pause and hand over the mic back to moderators.
Now I request Mr. Kenneth Gomes to brief us about the second report, which is called the Coal Trade, Tracking Investments in Coal-Fired Thermal Power Plants in India.
So for a brief introduction, India's power generation demand has recorded a significant rise. Between 2011 and 2021, the peak power demand grew from 130 gigawatts to 203 gigawatts. As per the projections of the Ministry of Coal, this trend is expected to rise over the coming years, and with it, the demand for coal. For 2022, the country has significantly enhanced its domestic coal production plan to meet a growing power demand due to the increase in economic activity as compared to the previous pandemic years. This year, on the other hand, also saw a power crisis in early May, which was mainly attributable to coal shortages, falling PLFs, and also discord in transporting coal. The major takeaway being that India continues to rely on coal to a large extent for power generation, as 75% of the power generation still is sourced from coal. Even at COP27, India maintained that it would continue to depend on coal for 3 or 4 decades more to meet its fast-growing energy requirements. Union Power Minister R.K. Singh said, in cognizance of the targets set at COP27, that the country will continue to set up new coal-fired thermal power plants to meet its growing energy needs, making it clear that the promised phase down of coal will happen in terms of its declining share in the overall energy mix. He also added that the country is prepared to add as much as 56 gigawatts of more coal-fired energy capacity by 2030. As on 30th September 2022, the total energy capacity of India stands at 407.7 gigawatts, a lion's share of which comes from coal-fired thermal power plants, which equals 204 gigawatts, almost 50.3% of this. This CFA report has analyzed the data for 140 thermal power plants, of which 122 are commissioned and 18 are in construction phase, that have come up between 2005 and 2022 and are above 1,000 megawatts. These 122 plants account for almost 196 gigawatts of the 204 gigawatts total commission capacity in coal-fired thermal plants, with 73 gigawatts privately owned and 102 gigawatts publicly spread across 16 states or union territories. The report also observes that while on aggregate, the commission capacity of this owned by the union, state and joint ventures between the two is higher than privately owned plants, there are some states where this is not true. For instance, in Gujarat, privately owned commission capacity equals some 9.8 gigawatts compared to 3.3 gigawatts, which is publicly held. Therefore, given the size of these projects, it is expected that the financing of these projects involves a sizable debt component, which involves instances of additional financing and or refinancing, along with the infused equity. Information on this debt component and the financial institutions, whether domestic or international, is indispensable to any scrutiny of project feasibility in terms of efficiency and requirement, and also the environmental and social aspects of such projects, as the country aims to phase down fossil fuels in terms of its declining share, and some financial institution plan and pledge to discontinue financing coal projects in the country. Yet, such information is rarely accessible to the public and becomes the major impediment to carry forth study focused on these aspects of large-scale projects. This inaccessibility exists mainly due to lack of transparency and astute use of fiduciary relationships between bank and client. Further, commercial databases where such investment data is updated in real time are prohibitively expensive for common people and researchers, while corporations who have access to such data definitely have the advantage in many ways. Therefore, the intent of this report is focused on removing this asymmetry and making such information available publicly to encourage more awareness and form the first steps to develop positive accountability mechanisms in such large-scale financing, which also forms the ethos of our organization CFA, given our continued engagement towards financial accountability in projects across the spectrum of infrastructure and energy. The report is a culmination of the effort put in collecting and compiling plant-specific information of lenders and the amounts of loans they provided. Loans amounting to rupees 7.62 lakh crores have been recorded, provided by 84 lenders, both national and international, with 93% of these loans arising domestically. This involves national public banks, national private banks, and even non-banking financial institutions. Out of the 7.1 lakh crores sanctioned domestically, 65% comes from non-banking financial institutions, where PFC and REC together account for 90% of these loans. SBI accounts for 35% of the loans given by public sector banks, and ICICI Bank has lent the largest amount from the national private banks. Further, we have also recorded a total of 22 international financial institutions who have lent rupees 50.3 thousand crores in the country. The report observes that a good share of these loans come from IFIs that are located in the Asian continent itself. Japan and China dominate the share of loans coming to the coal sector in India, which includes institutions as Japan Bank of International Cooperation, Japan International Cooperation Agency, China Exim Bank, Mizuho Corporate Bank, and the likes of others. The report focuses on the lending activity of such 84 lenders, and readers are welcome to satiate their interest and curiosities by having a look at the report and reading it. The report also provides insights in terms of the geographical spread of the loans and whether the loans accrue to private plants or public plants. The report also divulges information on the top 11 plants with the highest commission capacity in the country. Just to mention one, Reliance Power's Sassan Ultra Mega Power Project in Madhya Pradesh has a commission capacity of 3,960 megawatts, whose total debt amounts to rupees 31,760 crores, the highest debt accounted by one plant according to the data that we have collected. And out of these 31,000 crores, rupees 11,600 crores is just for refinancing of the previous debt that was taken for this project. Therefore, we hope that the data compiled in this report will further strengthen the efforts to hold financial institutions accountable and seek transparency in their investments, and also finally give adequate importance to the social and environmental impact of such projects. Thank you.
So our third report, titled India's Waste to Energy Paradigm, is supposed to be released by Swati Sheshadri. Swati would be joining us shortly, so therefore I would be the one briefing everybody about the report. India's Waste to Energy Paradigm, a policy, environmental and social perspective, is an earnest effort into objective, scientific and environmentally conscious analysis of waste to energy technology and its current applications in India. This report, it begins by detailing the existing scenario across 12 states in India and analyzing 20 waste to energy plants and identifying the trends in investment, the administrative and government leeways, and efficiency of the underlying technology in the Indian context. The report also examines the existing governmental policies that support or otherwise influence the waste to energy landscape in India. It dives deeply into 3 specific scenarios of major waste to energy plants, and it highlights the corporate government nexus, laying the foundation for the present and impending failure. So now I request Mr. Ajay Shankar and Dr. Vasudevan and the authors to kindly unveil the reports.